So, Tom and I have been building this company, Atomic Business Coaching, for a little over 3 years now. And we just only realized recently that we're both accidental CEOs. And it's this weird term that ChatGPT helped us figure out, like what it was. And we were looking for our audience. But as we were looking at it, we're like, holy shit, we're accidental
Yeah.
CEOs. Like we never intended to run our own companies. We never did. I started my career and I was like, I'm going to be in finance and I'm going to be the top of whatever Goldman Sachs or BlackRock or Citigroup or something like that. And Tom went and became a physician's assistant and thought he was going to be a
Yeah.
doctor or run medical practices. We never planned on being CEOs of a company, did we, Tom?
No, that's not how the evolution ever happened. And even when I left, healthcare and started my life coaching business, it was more that I was giving myself a job. I wasn't being the CEO. And here we are, where our jobs have metamorphosized into these accidental CEOs. And when we saw that phrase, it just hit both of us so much. And it was like, holy cow, we are those guys. We are accidental CEOs. We started this thing, it evolved and has evolved into now we're managing and running a business, right? Because you have to be
But
everything.
the funniest part about the whole thing is that we became accidental CEOs by helping accidental CEOs. It's like, it's very meta where every one of our clients was us like just a few years prior.
Yep.
And we were helping them go through what we've done and what we've helped dozens of companies and hundreds of people become millionaires because they were like, "Hey, I'm really good at this thing." And they started making money doing it. And then all of a sudden they're like, "I have a business." And they didn't plan on being the CEO, but now they had to run everything and they just didn't know how. And all this chaos came in and all these hats they had to wear every day. And they're like, "What the hell's going on?" And that's really how we built our businesses, helping those people understand the dichotomy of running your business and running your life. And that's what made us special is
Right.
I focus more on helping them run their business and Tom Hope helps them more on running their lives. We have a lot of crossover with
Mhm.
mindset and tactics and systems and processes, but that unique focus that we have on those two different areas of becoming a millionaire, both the business and the person, is what made this really, really magical and what allowed it to be effective and see results where people, we say going from clarity to chaos or going from chaos to clarity. But the thing is it is your life is chaotic, your business is chaotic, and it doesn't need to be. Business, like we've always said, business is simple. It's just not easy. And a lot of times what these accidental CEOs do is they make it very, very complicated trying to make it easy. It just doesn't work that way. It's gonna be hard. And if we simplify everything, it can be done joyfully, fulfilling, and profitable in the process.
Right. It's because, it becomes complicated because you are an accidental CEO. You don't know what you're supposed to be doing. You know your trade, your task, your skill, your service. You know that all really well, but you don't necessarily have an idea of what's supposed to come along with all of that. And that's where I think a lot of people find themselves, and that's why it gets complicated because you don't know what you don't know. And when we don't know things, we tend to make them very big mountains to climb instead of little ant hills to just step all over and tackle, and I think that's a big part of our evolution, and that's why it's like we developed this whole ecosystem of the simple CEO. Right, we talk about the simple focus system, we talk about, the simple life system, the simple board meeting, all of these things that you need to really become the CEO leader of your business. And we developed all of that, not even realizing we were accidental CEOs, and that's what we needed, right? We've been through our programs. We have put ourselves through our programs, through everything we've created, and made sure that it made sense for us before we really conveyed it to other people. And that's what I think is so awesome to see it now. Thank you, ChatGPT, for putting it all together for us because I don't know if we would have ever really gotten there without that help and seeing it. And now that, it's like the red car phenomenon too. Now everything we look at is accidental this, accidental that. And it's kind of funny that we fit right into all of those different things. So
Yeah, and the amount of people that we've helped that now looking back, like, wow, they were an accidental CEO. Like one of our clients who's an architect, he's very close to making his first million only 2 years into working with us. Magically, it doesn't happen overnight, by the way, just so you guys know that. But he was an architect at a firm, a very, very respected architect working on amazing projects in Manhattan. And when he went out on his own, he was really just going to be an architect and get clients and do that. And then all of a sudden, he needed a little bit of help and he had to get an employee. And then he needed to put processes in place. And then he needed to, like, how do I focus on consistent revenue generation? Oh, shit, I need a website. And when he came to us, he's like, I'm doing all these things. I don't know how to do
Right.
it. And like, yeah, he was an accidental CEO. In hindsight, now we know that. But now he doesn't have chaos. He has help. He works through each of his problems. He makes decisions from a CEO mindset instead of just like, "Hey, I gotta hurry up and get the next job." And that's the major transition when we watch someone go from like, "Hey, you're really good at what you do. You just don't know how to do it," meaning the business or even running their lives. Like when you become a millionaire, everything changes, and you're gonna need help along the way to understand how to adapt to that. And that's really what this is. There's an evolution of your business, there's an evolution and development of yourself to allow you to actually be the type of person that can do that. That's what it takes. Becoming that type of person that can actually run $1 million business, that can be a millionaire. It doesn't just like you make it and you can keep doing that unless you become that type of person. And that's what most of our clients, their transition has been. It's becoming the type of person that can run that business. The business really didn't change all that much. They did.
Right. And that's the thing. They changed and their mindset needed to change and they had to challenge beliefs that they had from the past. Like this comes up so many times with a lot of our accidental CEOs, like especially the architect and I'm thinking of the our esthetician and there's so many beliefs that people have that get really convoluted when they are evolving into this CEO role. And I spend so much time with people working on how to challenge those limiting beliefs, how to look for the evidence that supports it and realize that there's no evidence anymore that supports those things because you're demonstrating what your true potential is. But it comes through because of all of the chaos. So I want to be clear about something. Like if your business is chaotic right now, it's probably because you haven't addressed all the things that you need to address, either evolving your systems or developing yourself as the person. And that's why Adam and my approach is so unique, is because we're looking at all of that at the same time. And we're trying to guide you through it as you get to each phase of it, right? We had our content creator this week realize, holy shit, I have to be the leader now. I can't be the doer and the guy. I gotta go lead the team. And that's a whole new mindset shift for him coming even after 20 years of doing this, right? And being in business and still not having made his first million yet, but pretty close to halfway there this year, only after a year working with us. But it's like he's now had to take on a new way of thinking and a new way of understanding what he truly believes so that he can now go out and do the things and dictate the values and behave according to those values. And that's where people allow the chaos to take over. And that's why Adam and I have developed every one of our programs to be all about clarity and finding the next direction and give you the clarity and the confidence to take on that next direction. And it's cool when people have those aha moments and they see it happen for themselves like we had yesterday with one of our clients. She just was like, "Ah, now I got it." And it's like, yeah, because the clarity is now there and you have the confidence to go and do it. And there's no more chaos and you're not running your business on a shoestring, and you know exactly what you need to do.
Yeah, and many of these accidental CEOs, the hardest thing to overcome is realizing that you can't jump to the end. And it's like, I want to make $1 million, but like, all right, you have to make 100,000, then you have to make 200,000, and then so on and so forth. And a lot of that anxiety comes from money issues. And if you don't have the CEO mindset around money, and that it takes money to make your business. If you're all worried about, like, I just have to get the next job, I have to make the next sale so we have revenue, it's hard for you to invest money in yourself, in your business, in your team, in your processes. But many of the times that's what it takes. And you look like, okay, I have to add another employee to help me with this thing, or I have to buy a certain system to help me with this thing. And that will help you generate the revenue, or it will free up the time for you to actually go pay attention to generating the revenue. But there's multiple steps along the way to making your first million. It's not just like there's one straight path there. And that's what Tom's talking about. The chaos is actually needed. It's just when it's chaotic, figuring out, okay, how do I get back in line with what my goals are? And that's much of what Tom and I are doing, because as the business evolves and as the person develops, now you have to handle new challenges that weren't there before because you are a different person. Your business is operating differently, which means we need to look at it differently. And that's the difficult thing, is you can't just keep doing the same thing over and over expecting different results. It's how do we evolve and how do we develop along this path
Mhm.
to make progress?
Right. And part of that development and that progress is no longer slapping band-aids on situations. You've gotta be able to have that way of thinking that you gotta get to the root cause of the problem and fix the problem, because you're not gonna be able to build your business on a stack of band-aids that are dirty and yucky. You gotta really find what you could put a band-aid on temporarily, but if you have to go back to that band-aid. And that's what we find with a lot of our clients is they don't go back to fix the Band-Aid, they just add another Band-Aid on top of it, and then that just predicates more chaos in their business because it's all Band-Aids and they never healed the initial cut, the initial wound, and that, that became very evident yesterday when we were talking about a client for us that her whole business is built on Band-Aids, and I don't think she really anticipated the rapid growth that she would have, and now she finds herself in a place of being an accidental CEO, but she's kind of made the million, but now she's gotta go backwards and peel off all the Band-Aids, clean off the wounds, and make sure that she can build a stable business because she should really be at a $5 million mark.
Yeah.
And that's what because of our own limitations, right? And, we were listening to the Chris Williamson podcast recently, and they're talking about how entrepreneurs, the real successful ones, are a team of entrepreneurs, that you can't do this by yourself. And that's what Adam and I have really, put ourselves out there for people to recognize that when you hire us, that when you work with us, you're putting a team behind you. You're putting a team of people behind you that can support you to get through all of these quote unquote accidental moments so that you can really build the foundation that you need to run a successful business with clarity and with confidence.
Well, that was a big problem of me being an accidental CEO, was that, I worked for major corporations, Citigroup and MetLife and BNY Mellon. And like when I was doing that, you were tasked with all these roles and responsibilities that this was your job and this is what you do. And I generated a lot of money doing that. When I then had my own company, one of many that I've had, it was very difficult for me not to put all that on me again, because I was so conditioned and used to like, all right, well, I just do all the work because I'm serving this thing. And it used to be my boss and now it was my business. But I read a book, Who Not How, that Tom actually introduced to me, and it was really like it's not about how you're gonna do something, it's who's gonna do it with you. And when I finally realized like, okay, I'm allowed to ask for help, I'm allowed to get support, that was a major mindset shift in my own evolution from an accidental CEO into an intentional CEO. And it's a hard thing for people to go through because number one, they feel like they should be doing it all themselves. And number two, they're scared to ask for that help, whether it's someone's going to screw it up or they don't have the money for it. And these are the things that we work through with people in coaching, is understanding how that has worked through our own experiences, through the way we've helped other people, and just asking the right questions and getting to the logical, like, where are we at today so we can take the next step tomorrow.
Right. And that's what the coaching is all about, is asking the right questions and getting to the root cause of what the person is really struggling with, dealing with, because we've been there, right? Adam and I are telling you, we are our own accidental CEOs. We found ourselves in these places. And listen, I found myself running my other business, you know, it was not as much fun doing it by myself, and having a partner and partnering up and asking for the help, and that's what works so well for Adam and I, is like we have our very distinct roles, and we allow each other to be in those roles so that we can run a successful company. And a lot of people would see that as failure. A lot of accidental CEOs especially would see that as they failed at running their business because they had to bring in a partner, or they had to bring in a number 2, they had to ask for help. And what the real message is that you can't do it by yourself. You have to elicit the help from other people. And yeah, sometimes it is in the role of a partner or whatever, but it's someone that you have to go through the journey with. And that's one of the things that I love about our First M Club, is that we bring other accidental CEOs together in a mastermind and networking setting to help support each other so that you can identify or even be asked the questions that you're not asking yourself. Right? We do it all the time. Like, we asked for feedback last night in one of those meetings to make sure that we're on point and we're communicating who we are properly, and all of that feedback allows us to grow more. And that's how accidental CEOs have to see asking questions and the benefits of asking questions. It's really about getting more information so you can reach your full potential, so that you can get to that $1,000,000, because it requires that mindset shift from listening to other people too and getting those fresh perspectives.
Yeah, those fresh perspectives are so important, and the way that Tom and I have really helped so many people become millionaires is that we have this dual approach. It's that I am working on the business side of it, and Tom is working on the personal side of it. And that's what we really found is this way of going through and actually taking care of yourself and your business simultaneously is what allows you to have success. And without us magically coming together and being able to start helping more and more people simultaneously, I don't know that we would have had the people that we know have the success that they've had. And it's incredible to watch all these people that were making, $100,000, $200,000 now hitting the million, crossing the million, being happy, losing weight, having better marriages and time with their family and loving what they do every single day. That's really what we're after, and that's why we know we had to work on both of these things at the same time. There's no like, "Let me work on this, and then I'll go work on that." It's all converging together that allows you to really have what success should be.
Mhm. You know, you mentioned the relationships piece. Every single one of our clients has gotten into a better relationship, or their relationship has been strengthened by their experiences in handling what needs to be handled from the life side when they're an accidental CEO. Because no one prepares you for what the impact is going to be on your partner and your children, and no one can understand that unless you're going through that. And Adam and I, being accidental CEOs, have been really, really good at creating the space and the time for our spouses and for our children to be able to be successful in our business, because we have that success in our personal lives, because they do feed into each other. And that's what people don't get. Like, everybody tries to separate it. And I've said this many times in the past. We try to separate life and business, work and work life balance, and that doesn't exist. And when you work on both aspects of you as an individual, the business side of you and the personal side of you, you can find the harmony that you're really looking for. And yes, the goal is to make your first million, absolutely. But it's also to give you a life of harmony so that you can make that million without the disruptions to your relationships that matter. Because at the end of the day, why are you doing all this? Why do you even want to be that successful if you don't have success in your personal life? Because you can be great in your business life, but you can be very lonely in your personal, and vice versa. And the whole point of why Adam and I do this together is so that people have that harmony and develop that harmony, so that making the million is that much sweeter. right? And being capable of, because listen, you're going to be capable of making $1 million when you work with us. You may not, and you may choose not to, and that's perfectly fine. But if you don't choose both sides, both parts of who you are, then you're not really going to be successful in the long run. You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to wind up sick. You're going to wind up burnt out and stressed out. And that's what we try to eliminate, is that burnout and that stress.
It's worth time talking about being lonely
Mhm.
as you're running your business. And for me, when I became an accidental CEO, I was doing it all on my own, and I've done this multiple times now. And when I actually had success, is when I joined forces with somebody else, with my partner Russell and my other businesses, with John, Eric, and the other one. And then when it really came to fruition was when Tom and I came together and I had the support because I wasn't lonely anymore. I didn't have to figure everything out on my own. And, you may not want a partner in your business. And that is where a great place for a coach comes in, or a mentor comes in. It's like figuring everything out on your own. You're way too close to it. I mean, I even to this day, reach out to other people. I reached out to my friend Danny Delvecchio this morning to ask him for something, and he's like, "Yeah, you're just too close to it to see what I'm seeing." It's not just about being lonely, it's about perspective. And that is a big hurdle for these accidental CEOs to overcome because it does feel like a failure to them. It feels like I'm not supposed to need help. I'm supposed to be big and strong and able to do this, but none of us are, even me. Like, I didn't do anything worth doing well on my own. Like, I got started, but I wasn't able to finish all on my own.
Mhm. You know, there's so many benefits to this, right? And I've seen this in our own partnership. I was never a fitness guy, right? I was never into fitness. I was never into lifting weights and working out, very disciplined. And I was good at aerobic exercise, not the anaerobic exercises, right? And talking with Adam made me see things differently, and he impacted me. Now I'm at the gym 3 days a week lifting weights at 48 years old. It was something I never did before, right? I never lifted and did that stuff, and I'm not ashamed to admit that I didn't learn how to use the machines until being 48 years old. But that piece of my life was made better because I had a partner who, in my business, was also looking out for my physical health as well. And that's the key to everything that we try to do with everyone is we don't want you to just work all day on your business. We want you to work on yourself. And we want you to be the healthiest version of yourself so that you can go about your business and manage the stress and deal with the obstacles as they come along. There is so much that happens at the gym when we're thinking about the business that we get like these key insights to say, "Oh, that's how we need to do it. Oh man, I can't wait to say." And we're messaging each other at the gym back and forth, and it's happening, but while we're working on ourselves at the same time, and we both have dedicated time on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We don't start working until 10:30, very intentionally, because the time before that is at the gym working out so that we both can bring our best selves to the business. And I think that's what a lot of people are missing in the chaos. They're not taking care of themselves. They're not eating properly. They're not exercising. And that just leads to more obstacles to have to overcome down the line because you didn't do it from the beginning. And that's what I'm talking about, foundation versus putting on band-aids. If you build a full foundation, both for your business and for yourself, exercise, all of that, and you put that in place from the very beginning, you're going to build something that is very stable and very healthy. If you don't do those things, things will collapse quite easily, and you will have new obstacles that you could have completely avoided. So the chaos of being an accidental CEO is all obstacle. It's all issue that comes up and band-aids get slapped on, but build the foundation that you need. When you build a foundation out of cement versus stilts, you're going to have a much more solid foundation, and you're going to build a much more successful business on top of that.
Yeah, most people who stumbled into having a business and woke up 2 years later and like, "Oh, I'm running this business now." They usually decided along that route that they had to compromise stuff, whether it was being with their kids or going to the gym or meditating, eating right, whatever it was, or they're not very successful because they compromised what needed to be done in the business to be with their kids
Right.
have good fitness or whatever else it is. The thing is that you don't need to compromise. Like each piece of that helps the other side of it. And when you can consistently work on all of it together, it's gonna benefit each other. When you go to the gym, it's gonna allow you to get energy. By the way, if you go to the gym, you get energy. Even though you're using energy, you get energy. It's different types of energy. One is physical energy and one is mental energy, but you gain that from going there. If you eat right, it allows you to be functioning better. And if you work and make money well and you're not stressed out about that, allows you to enjoy the time with your family. Like, all this thing is complementary, and so many people who, like we say, are accidental CEOs, they're letting go of part of that because they think that's what's necessary, but it's really not. It's not gonna help them if they compromise on this thing, but they can't find the time and the space and the logic to like, "Hey, I'm not gonna grind it out and do this," so they let it go. And then they get down the road and they're like, "Man, I just all I want is that back," when they could have started that way. It's just integrating it all together purposely for each step you're taking along the route of building your business and building your life. And that's what Tom and I have done for the last 3 years for dozens of companies and hundreds of people is make sure they can carry that out for themselves in a very peaceful, enjoyable way.
Right. Because ultimately, what we hear from every one of our clients is they want freedom and flexibility. And the freedom and flexibility is only going to come if you put in the work, but you have a stable foundation to build upon that freedom and flexibility. And when you're doing all of that, you can achieve what it is you're seeking. Accidental CEOs always wanted that freedom and flexibility. They gave themselves a job and they wound up building a business. And that business is now consuming them because they have chaos and not clarity. And if you move to a place of clarity, you will have the freedom and flexibility that you want, and that's really what it's all about in my mind.
Listen, if you want to experience a lot of what we do in a short period of time at actually no cost, we do something. It's an interactive workshop. Guess what it's called? The Accidental CEO Workshop. We have this about once a month that we do it. We keep it small to 6 to 8 accidental CEOs in the room. We talk to them about what's going right, what's going wrong, and what they need help with. They share with each other their experiences and insights. Tom and I will impart our thoughts, hopefully, share some tactics or give them some answers on what they can do to move forward. So, I mean, go to atomicbusinesscoaching.com and check it out there. You can go to either of our LinkedIn profiles. There's always a link right there to join the complimentary workshop. Our intention is that you go there, you solve some problems, you see how we work, and either you're able to now move forward in your life or you realize, hey, I need some help, and maybe we're the people to help you with that. So check those out, atomicbusinesscoaching.com, or go to my LinkedIn. Mine is Adam Thomas Hurd, or you can go to Tom's, which is Tom Marino. You can find us there and join that workshop, or just see what else we're doing there and see if what we're doing resonates with the life you're trying to build, and if we or somebody else can help you get there so you don't have to do it all alone.